Well, we're going to play it safe today, as in safeties, because both of our Steelers Nation Unite nominees are safeties. Were safeties, if you will, but totally different players. We'll begin with Mike Wagner and talk about Troy Polamalu as well. One of the problems on playing for the Steelers of the 70s with all those Hall of Fame guys is that there were so many terrific football players who definitely got overshadowed. There were some awfully good football players in those teams who did not end up All-Pro or in Canton, Ohio. And Mike Wagner was certainly one of them. I mean, look at some, guys he played with. Obviously, Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blount. Donnie Shell playing alongside him. A lot of people think that Donnie Shell should be in Canton. He's already in the Steelers Hall of Honor in the inaugural class. If there was such a thing as a quarterback of the Steelers defense from the 70s, it was Mike Wagner. It's not that those other guys didn't know how to play or what to do or where to line up. You had plenty of leaders on the field. Joe Green, obviously. Jack Lambert in his way. Jack Ham in a kind of quiet way. For the first two Super Bowls, certainly Andy Russell. But Mike Wagner was kind of the, and I mean this in the best sense of the word, he was the adult in the secondary. Not in terms of behavior, but making sure everybody was aligned properly and that things were as they should be. And I think a lot of times we look at Mike Wagner and say, well, he was a cerebral guy. He was, but he was also a terrific player. Now, it doesn't hurt when you're playing with all the guys that he was playing with. But you have to remember, when you stop and think about the Steelers and how great they were, let's think about some of the personnel that they had on defense from small schools. Small schools. Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Fats Holmes, Dwight White, Mel Blount, Donnie Shell, and Mike Wagner came from Western Illinois. It's not exactly Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson. To me, that's what makes it even more remarkable. Think about that. And certainly the responsibilities that Mike Wagner had as a free safety were aided and abetted by the players that he was playing with. One of the greatest cornerbacks ever to play the game, a guy many people believe is Hall of Fame worthy, alongside Donnie Shell and the other ones I've already mentioned. But Mike Wagner was really a good player. He was really fast. And more than the fact that he was fast, he knew where to play, how to play people, play within the confines of the defense. And even if he didn't run a 4.3 40, because he knew where to shade, knew where to go, he could make up for that. Again, there were so many players like Mike Wagner on those great teams. Players like Moon Mullins and Sam Davis and John Kolb and Larry Brown, all going to be nominees for the Hall of Honor, and Mike Wagner certainly deserves his place in the Hall of Wagner. Well, they call it the Hall of Wagner, the Hall of Honor. 4 Super Bowl rings tells you that he belongs. We may, as a committee, we may not have to make a decision on Troy Polamalu because we've stated the parameters of how this is all working. Anybody who makes the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio is automatically in the Steelers Hall of Honor. That's what we did last year. That's what we'll continue to do. We talked about that with Hines Ward last week. And the same thing will apply to Troy Polamalu. I mean, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame in Canton. and automatically he'll be in the Hall of Honor. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about him and honor what he did. I don't know that there's ever been a player quite like him. There have been a lot of great safeties, and at the time, and I thought he was terrific too, Ed Reed of the Ravens and Troy Polamalu were just heads and shoulders above anywhere else, but even there they were different players. I remember the day that the Steelers traded up to get Troy Polamalu, and they had a good distance to go. 11 spots is a lot to move up. They were 27. They worked out a trade with Kansas City, who then moved back, and they drafted running back Larry Johnson out of Penn State. That's a lot of, you see teams move up, but generally it's not 11 spots. And outside of the first round swap that they made with the Chiefs, I don't remember, frankly. I could look it up. I can't now. Can't talk and navigate the computer at the same time, after all. But whatever it was more than worth it to get one of the greatest defensive players to ever play in the NFL, certainly, and this is saying a lot, on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that may be hyperbole to you. Maybe it's an overstatement, but I don't think so. Because he was unique. He wasn't all that big, but he could play at the line of scrimmage, leaping over tall buildings in a single bound over the line of scrimmage to make plays. And he could be standing at the line of scrimmage, and by the time the ball was snapped, the quarterback got a read, he could be back in the secondary defending a pass. We played for you the highlight of the 2008 championship game against the Ravens, where he took it back all the way, on the way to winning his second Super Bowl. I mean, he could do things like that. And I remember talking to opposing coaches and players, and they would say, we have to account for him. You have to know where he's at. He's not the traditional safety standing back there 12, 15 yards. You never know where you're going to find him. And you know what, truth be told? Bill Cowher and Dick LeBeau didn't always know where he was going to line up or what he was going to do. He worked it out with the other players on the field, but he had that latitude. Truly unique. He was a great tackler. He'd come up and hit you at the line of scrimmage to stop a running back, and then be downfield 30 yards to break up a pass. And I always laugh, and this is the way it works sometimes. Troy Polamalu, after his rookie year, or should say during his rookie year, a number 1 pick, traded up 11 spots to get him. He was viewed by many as a bust. That was the talk in town. Number 1 pick, he doesn't even start, he doesn't even play. He didn't play much from scrimmage at all. That was the talk. Didn't last very long. Hall of Honor, absolutely. I don't think we'll have to make a decision on him, because I do think when he becomes eligible, he'll be in the Hall of Fame in Canton. He should be. By the way, Gary says, tweets, I wonder if Troy will come back for the ceremony. I hope so. I know he wasn't happy about the Steelers releasing him, but that was the end of the career, and he retired, and hopefully that won't continue when he gets elected. Each week, Steelers Nation Unite will have a couple of prospects for this year's Steelers Hall of Honor class. I'm proud and honored to be a member of the selection committee. I'll be doing this every week here on Savran on Sports and Steelers Nation Radio.